What's up? Now, as we all know, the Switch 2 has been dominating headlines this year, and at times it's been almost impossible to find one to buy. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's compare it to one of the juggernauts from last year. That's right, we're going to compare it against the ASUS ROG Ally X. So at face value, brand new versus brand new, this may not seem like much of a comparison. And I get it. The Ally X is going for $800 or $900 right now, and the Switch can be had for $450. But that is not what happened for me. I was able to find an Ally X for $500. And when you compare $500 to $450, or $500 if you bought Mario Kart World, things get really interesting. When holding either of these devices, you can easily see that their approach on mobile gaming is very different. Like, they're on the opposite sides of the spectrum. Now, one would assume the Ally X is beefier because it's housing an 80 watt-hour battery. Now for the Switch 2, it's rated at 5200 milliamp hours. And I so kindly asked Google to try to translate that over to watt hours, and it came out to 19.9. So pound for pound, battery for battery, it's not really much of a comparison there. On the other side of things, both of them have 1080p displays. The Ally X, 7 inches. Switch 2, 7.9. The Switch 2 is thinner, with a bigger display and a smaller battery. So what does that comparison look like? To be honest, pretty similar. It all depends on the games. So if you're playing something on either one of these awesome systems that's a little lighter graphically, then you're probably looking at 5, maybe 6 hours playtime. Now, if you crank it up and you're playing one of these AAA titles, then yeah, you're probably going to get maybe a little over 2 hours. So it is what it is. Or is it? Now, this is where things change a little bit for the Ally X. With the Ally X, you can go into the menus and you can change a lot of things. And I'm not just talking power consumption, which is cool, but you can also change resolution, image sharpening, frame generation. You can change a lot of things. Now, the balancing act to that is, as you change things to stretch the battery life, the frame rates might not be what you want them to be, or it may not look as good as you want it to look. So it's a balancing act, finding a sweet spot between how long you get to play and how good it looks. Then there's the charging speeds. For the Nintendo Switch 2, it says that you can fully charge the device in 3 hours. Now for the Ally X, it supports 100 watt charging, and you can go from 0 to 100 in under 2 hours. Not only that, it comes with a 65 watt charging brick. Next comes the usability. Now, the Switch 2's user interface is basically a clone of the Switch 1's, and it's just like you would expect on any other gaming console. It's very straightforward. You don't have a problem finding anything, so props to them. For the Ally X, it's definitely not the same. Now, it is Windows 11, so you basically got a little pocket computer in your hands. The user interface is whichever one you choose, whether it's Steam Big Picture mode or the Xbox app or the Armory crate. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to make that feel more like a purpose-built gaming console. For myself, I use the Armory crate because you can throw up all your favorite games or game stores right there. It needs some work. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little rough. With that being said, the Switch 2 games, obviously tailor-made for the Switch 2, so Nintendo is really maximizing every last drop from their console, and it looks and plays great. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the third-party games as they come out, to see how playable those are. I do remember horror stories with the Switch 1, and hopefully we don't go back down that path. As for the Ally X, well, it's strong enough to run just about any PC game you throw at it. You might have to move some sliders around to get it to play smoothly or to get it to look the way you want it to look, but yeah, it's a monster. And so here's where things start to get complicated. So I have a gaming PC, so every game that I bought on that PC, I can now move over to the Ally X, and it's going to run it pretty good. and I don't really miss a beat there, and I really enjoy that. Now, for the Switch 2, they did make everything backwards compatible, and they are doing updates for some of those games, and they're starting to play better and look better. But if I'm comparing some of those same games that were on the Switch 1, now on Switch 2, versus that same game on the Ally X, both in handheld mode, there is not a comparison. And it's not even close. And then there's the thought of going on Nintendo's online store and downloading some of your favorite third-party games, only to find out that they're still $30 and $35, and you compare those same games on the Steam store, and that's 5, 10, maybe 15 max, and you know they're going to look a certain way on the Switch 2 and a completely different way on the Ally X. I think you're getting the picture I'm trying to paint. Like, seriously though, Nintendo has some sort of secret sauce that they've built into this system and every other system in its past, for that matter, because when people come over and they actually want to play video games, they're playing Mario Kart, they're playing Super Smash Bros, Mario Party. They're not worried about a PS5 or an Ally X. For some reason, when they play Nintendo, they're able to just be a kid again. And that's something that Nintendo does really well. So props to them. On the other side of things, the Ally X is still basically a little handheld Windows 11 PC. So if you want to edit things on Photoshop or watch movies or browse the web, you can do anything you want to do with it. I don't want to compare this to like a Apple versus Android type feel, but with the Ally X, you can customize it however you want to. You can do whatever you want to do with it. Just to experiment, I've started doing some ridiculous things with my Ally X. I plugged it up to my driving rig just to see if it could run iRacing, and it did. I plugged it up to the Oculus 2 just to try to get some VR stuff going, and that worked too. Now, granted, with both of those, you need to tailor your expectations, mess around with the sliders to get everything to run, but it is possible, and that's crazy. It's like the Switch 2 is an EV car, so it's like sleek and reliable, and it just kind of goes, versus the Ally X is like a twin turbo Lamborghini. Like, I don't want to say a million horsepower here, but fast, really fast. And you have to keep tuning on it. And the more you put into it, the more you get out. Yeah, I'm a car guy, so I'm going to stick with that one. I guess what I'm trying to say here is both of them offer very fun but unique experiences. And I can see a world where somebody might not be for the Switch 2 and others might not be for the Ally X, especially if you're looking at buying an Ally X brand new and it's double the price of a Switch 2. So with that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious about this one. But as always, take care.